All right, guys. So you know how vaccines are super safe, super effective, and definitely 100% full of science? Well, today I want to show you guys something that I just came across and my mind was blown. This guy right here, his name is Stanley Plotkin. Stanley Plotkin, if you don't know, is one of the most influential vaccine developers in modern medicine. He directly developed or played a major role in developing several major vaccines, most notably rubella, also known as German measles, rabies, rotavirus, cytomegalovirus, and he also contributed to the varicella vaccine, polio, anthrax, among other things. So this guy is, he knows his stuff and he's very pro-vaccine. Well, imagine my surprise when I stumbled upon this 9-hour deposition tape on YouTube. And the things he admits under oath are pretty wild. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't gone through the whole 9 hours yet, but I am working my way through it. I wanted to show you this part that really stood out to me, though.
Okay. Dr. Plotkin, earlier you testified that there are 2 Hep B vaccines in the market, one by Glaxo GSK, that's Engerix B, and the other one is by Merck, Recombavax HB, right?
Yes.
Okay. For Recombavax HB, how long was the safety review period in the pre-licensure clinical trial for this vaccine?
I don't know.
Well, we're about to find out. What the attorney is asking is, how long did you monitor people who got the vaccine after they received it?
17. Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what's been labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. Sent it?
I sent it.
Okay. This is the product, the manufacturer insert for Recombavax HB, correct?
Yes.
And the clinical trial experience would be found in section 6.1, correct? Correct? Dr. Plotkin?
Yes.
Okay. In section 6.1, when you look at the clinical trials that were done pre-licensure for Recombavax HB, how long does it say that safety was monitored after each dose?
Let's see. Uh, 5 days.
Okay. Is 5 days long enough to detect adverse reactions that occur after 5 days?
No,
Is
they would be reported separately as observed in the clinic.
In section 6.1 of the manufacturer insert, which under the Code of Federal Regulations, they're supposed to describe the clinical trial, does it provide for anything other than 5 days of monitoring after each dose for adverse events?
It does not specifically say that, no.
Okay.
This is wild. So they do this study about the vaccine to see, okay, is this thing safe or not, right? They only monitor for adverse events 5 days after the study, meaning that any sort of condition, whether it be chronic or, I don't know, a one-timer condition, like heart attack or stroke or anything like that, they only monitor for 5 days after the vaccine. Okay. So we don't know what happens beyond 5 days with something we've just injected into your body. But guys, the first 5 days, Things are looking great.
Is 5 days long enough to detect an autoimmune issue that arises after 5 days?
No.
Is 5 days long enough to detect a seizure that arises after 5 days? Okay.
It would be unlikely to have a seizure occur after 5 days.
Is 5 days long enough to detect any neurological disorder that arose from the vaccine after 5 days?
No.
Okay. Was there any control group in this trial? Let me rephrase that. There is no control group, correct?
Not, let's see. Well, they mention 3,258 doses were administered to 1,252 healthy adults.
That's right. But does it mention any control group, Dr. Plotkin?
It does not mention any control group, no.
No.
That is the most insane thing I have ever heard. This guy, who I bet if you ask, hey man, you like science? He'd be like, yeah, I love science. You like vaccines? Yeah, I love them, dude. They're great. They saved us from everything, man. Hey, you know when you guys were testing that one vaccine? Yeah, that was the greatest time of my life. Yeah, did you have a control group in that study that you did in those trials? No, man. You know what we did? We just gave the vaccine to a bunch of healthy people, man, and then we just kind of kept the train rolling, man. I mean, let's be honest. He didn't say it like that, right? I know he didn't say it like that yet. But the fact that they don't have a control group, and if you don't know what a control group is, it's the group that you didn't give the vaccine to. You have the vaccine group, the people who you gave the vaccine to, and then you have the other group, the people you didn't give the vaccine to. Usually you give them like a saline solution or whatever. It's a placebo. You give them a placebo. And nobody knows who got the vaccine. Nobody knows who got the placebo except the people conducting the study. Even the doctors administering the placebo and the vaccine, they don't know either. It's called a double-blind placebo. They never did that. You know what they thought would be good science, guys? We're just going to have a group that we give the vaccine to. We're going to monitor them for 5 days. And if nothing too crazy happens, then guess what? It's safe. Let's see what else they have to say.
If you turn to section 6.2, what is the list of adverse reactions listed in this section?
These are reports of adverse reactions that likely were reported to the VAERS system.
Under immune system disorders, does it say that there were reports of hypersensitive reactions, including anaphylactoid reactions, bronchospasms, and urticaria having been reported within the first few hours after vaccination?
Yes.
Have there been reports of hypersensitivity syndrome?
Yes, that's what it states.
Reports of arthritis?
It is mentioned.
Okay. It also reports autoimmune diseases, including systemic lupus, erythematosus, lupus-like syndrome, vasculitis, and polyarteritis nodosa as well, correct?
Yes, that's what it states.
And also it states that under the nervous system disorders, it states that after that, there have been reports of Guillain-Barré syndrome, correct?
Yes.
As well as multiple sclerosis, exacerbation of multiple sclerosis, myelitis, including transverse myelitis, seizure, febrile seizure, peripheral neuropathy, including Bell's palsy,
Radiculopathy.
Thank you very much.
You know what he's basically saying here, right? Hey, sir, are you aware that there's all these reports of these adverse events after receiving the vaccine that maybe you'd want to look into? I'm not saying I'm not saying the vaccine caused it. I'm saying you might want to look into it, sir. That's what's happening right now.
Muscle weakness, hypothesia, and encephalitis, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now,
Now,
it says at the top,
before you go on, these reports are required to be included because they have been reported to the authorities as happening after vaccination. That is not proof that the vaccine caused those reactions, because things happen to people all the time, whether or not they've been vaccinated. And as I said, the company is required to report these. Now, I mention that specifically because multiple sclerosis, for example, is mentioned here. Multiple sclerosis has been studied in relation to hepatitis B vaccine, and there's no relationship, no causal relationship.
Okay. Well, was it studied in the same way that you studied the safety of this vaccine? Because if it was, we got a problem. And the problem is, you didn't do a good job on this. So, if the way that you study things is the same way that you did on this one, we got a problem. Now, I agree, there's no causal relationship just because we know that after the vaccine, people reported these things. That's not causal. I agree. I agree with Mr. Plotkin here. Absolutely. But his big thing, and if you keep watching, which you will, you're going to see that his big thing is, well, there's no proof that the vaccine causes that. Okay, but you guys don't look for it. Like, you don't go and do more tests. He says in this deposition that, testing is ongoing, but is it really? Is it really? It's ongoing? Without control groups, it's ongoing? The super scientific testing you're doing? Science requires a control group and you have none, but what you guys are doing is super science. Okay, sure.
So the fact that these things are in the package circular does not mean that the vaccine necessarily caused the stated phenomenon.
Agreed. I agree. I agree with him on that point. But that's not really the point that we're getting at. You wouldn't think that you would even need to say that to this guy who loves science and loves healing people.
When you say that multiple sclerosis has been studied and is determined to not have been caused, you're talking about the 2011 IOM report, I assume?
I'm talking about studies mostly done in France, where the situation arose where there was a concern about that.
You're aware of the 2011 IOM report that looked at certain vaccines in relation to whether they can cause certain adverse reactions?
Yes.
Okay, are you aware that one of the conditions they looked at was multiple sclerosis?
Among others, yes.
Among others, and that they and that they specifically looked at it with regards to hepatitis B?
Yes.
And do you know what their finding was?
I don't remember the exact wording, no.
Yeah. Maybe this will remind you. Inadequate to accept or reject a causal relationship. They didn't know, correct?
Yes, but you have to understand, first of all, that science continues, and so...
There it is. Science continues, guys. Hey, we're still looking into this. I know we've had decades at this point to look into this, but we're still trying to figure it out. If this guy's anything like Anthony Fauci, I bet he has the documents in his office and he'll send them to you when he gets the chance. Spoiler alert, he never sends the documents.
Studies continue. And secondly, that the IOM specifically decided that they would not draw a conclusion if they weren't sure of the conclusion. So what that statement means is that they don't have data that confirm that multiple sclerosis is caused by the hepatitis B vaccine, and they...
Guys, this is very commonplace in the world of pharmaceutical companies, vaccines, clinical trials. We don't have data that confirms that our products hurt people more than they help them. We just don't have the data to support that. Oh, that's interesting. Why don't you have the data? Because we just, quite frankly, we refuse to produce a study accurately and scientifically. We refuse to do it. We refuse to do a study with a control group so we can see what happens to vaccinated people versus unvaccinated people. That's what we need. We need control groups in the studies, guys. Because you like science so much, we're going to want a control group in there somewhere, right? You agree, right? I mean, come on. You love the science. I'm not sure they do love the science. I think they like the money. I think they like the money, baby.
But they don't regard that they have enough data to positively exclude it. So you cannot read that as saying that multiple sclerosis is caused by hepatitis B vaccine.
I never said that.
Bro, we're not saying that. We're not saying it is caused by that. We're getting at the point that you never do the research to find out.
What would need to be done in order to know whether or not any of these reported conditions are caused by the vaccine? What you would need is a properly randomized, as you said earlier, placebo-controlled study, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, I would point out that multiple sclerosis is a disorder of adults, and the issue that arose in France was related to vaccination of adults.
Okay.
That does not...
Hey, by the way, let me just tell you something that's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of irrelevant to what you're trying to get at about how we're not really doing good studies, but multiple sclerosis is a disease of adults. So, vaccines don't cause that because of how late onset it is. Oh, so you did a study about? No, we did not. He thought we did a no.
Not mean that it would be an issue, even if it were an issue, for children.
Dr. Plotkin, I was just asking what it says on there. There's lots of conditions listed. I'm not saying that multiple sclerosis is caused by this. I'm just asking if it's listed on section 6.2. In fact, we can even read the top of section 6.2, which says the following additional adverse reactions have been reported with the use of the marketed vaccine. Because these reactions are reported voluntarily from a population of uncertain size, it is not possible to reliably estimate their frequency or establish a causal relationship to a vaccine exposure, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's what it says right at the top of 6.2. Okay. But these are events that are reported after vaccination, and as we've just discussed, in order to establish whether it's causal between the vaccine and the condition, you need a randomized placebo-controlled study. But that was not done for this hepatitis B vaccine before licensure, was it?
No.
Okay. And given that the vaccine now appears on the
There you
CDC's
go.
recommended list, isn't it true that it would now be considered unethical to conduct such a study today?
It would be, yes, it
Yeah.
would be ethically difficult.
Okay, so let's
That is crazy. He's saying the lawyer just said now that the vaccine that we didn't properly test is on the childhood vaccine schedule, now to go back and do a real test with a control group where we don't administer the vaccine to people, doing that kind of study would be unethical or viewed as unethical. I actually don't think it is unethical. I think we should go back and do the study we didn't do the first time. I think we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to everybody else to do that study. And by the way, it's not unethical. You know why? You know what you could do? You could round up the people, well, don't want to say round up, but you could get in touch with people like me who don't want their kids vaccinated for certain things and then say, hey, would you like to be a part of our study where we don't vaccinate your kid and we just see how they're doing? Oh, and by the way, we just pull info from your pediatrician. You don't even have to do anything in particular except not vaccinate your kid. And I'd be like, yeah, sounds great. It'd be real easy to get that control group. This thing of like, it's unethical. No. There's plenty of parents of newborns, by the way, too, who would probably be willing to participate as the control group. Just saying.
Let's take a look at Engerex B. That's the other hepatitis B vaccine that you testified you recommend Faith received. Do you know how long adverse reactions were reviewed after each dose of that vaccine in the pre-licensure clinical trial?
Not offhand, no.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked Plaintiff's Exhibit 11. This is the manufacturer insert for the Engerex B, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you turn to section 6.1, which is clinical trials experience, can you please tell me how long the safety review period was in the pre-licensure clinical trials after each dose?
All subjects were monitored for 4 days post-administration. That does not necessarily mean that they didn't collect reactions after 4 days.
Are you claiming they collected reactions after 4 days, but didn't disclose it here in violation of the Code of Federal Regulations?
I dare say that they collected putative reactions for a longer period. I feel quite positive about that. When they say they were monitored for 4 days, that means active monitoring as opposed to collecting reports later on. That is not uncommon in clinical trials.
Is 4 days long enough to detect an autoimmune issue that arises after 4 days?
No.
Or a neurological disorder that arises after 4 days?
No, that would be reported later.
And can you provide any proof that there was any reports or follow-up after those 4 days?
Well, it doesn't say that here, but I am willing to bet that they did collect reactions after 4 days, and I imagine that the FDA would not have allowed them not to do that.
But as you sit here today, that's just speculation, correct?
Yes, that's speculation based on experience.
I'm going to make a request for you to provide proof of what you're claiming, that there was actually for both hepatitis B vaccines, any safety review that occurred after 4 days of administration of any dose of these vaccines?
Again, I'm going to continue the objection, I guess, from last time since we took a longer break. There's a proper procedure to request documents and discovery. He doesn't have to come back and produce it.
Objection's noted. Thank you. Okay. So, and there was no placebo group, correct? In the 13,000, in the trial at the top where it talks about 13,000 doses being administered.
It does not say that there was a control group. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the study.
And do you believe, so you think but you're just speculating that there might have been a control group?
There well might have been. It is not unusual for controls to be included, especially if you're looking at reactions. But I don't know specifically for this study.
All right, well, if you're claiming there might have been a control group, then please do provide support for that, because as far as I understand, the manufacturer, and this was, who makes Engerix-B? Glaxo?
Glaxo.
One of your clients. If there was a control group, they needed to have disclosed that. And I assume they're not disclosing it because there was none.
Well,
Doc, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
Well,
Doctor.
all right, go ahead.
All right.
Ms. Newsome, are you still there?
Yeah, my headset died, but I called
Guys.
back in, so I don't think I missed much. We're still going over the...
This is, it's so crazy. Another one. And another one. I'm the DJ Khaled of vaccines. Me, it's Stanley Plotkin. Another one that doesn't have a control group. Oh. You gotta be kidding me. You guys don't, like, does anybody else think this is insane? Insane that there's no control group. Why would there not be a control group? This is a scientific study. And we don't want a control group. Okay. I don't know.
answer.
So let's go back to section 6.2 on this manufacturer insert for Engerix-B. It talks about the post-marketing experience for this vaccine. This one lists for immune system disorders that were reported, a whole number of them, correct? Mm-hmm. And it also lists a number of nervous system disorders, including encephalitis, encephalopathy, migraine, multiple sclerosis, neuritis, neuropathy, paresthesia. I'll ask the question all the way at the end. Guillain-Barré syndrome, Bell's palsy, optic neuritis, paralysis, paresis, seizures, syncope, and transverse myelitis, correct? It lists all of those?
Yes.
Okay. But to know whether or not these are actually caused by Engerix-B, again, you would need a properly randomized placebo-controlled study, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But this study wasn't done pre-licensure for this vaccine, right?
I'd have to go back and look at the original studies, but these data undoubtedly refer not only to the study that was done before licensure, but also to phenomena reported after licensure.
That's 6.2, right? Okay, and again, given that this vaccine now appears on the CDC's recommended list, it would be unethical to do a randomized placebo-controlled study of this vaccine, right?
In children, it would be unethical. It could be done in adults.
Oh.
So it would be unethical to do this study in children. Well, first of all, no, because there's parents like me who don't want their kid vaccinated. So you could just include my kids, right? Or if I had another newborn, or any other parent has kids that are newborns that don't want their kid vaccinated, you could include those kids. That would not be unethical. Why does he not want, he's like, you could do it in adults. Hey, bruh, we're looking for adverse events that occur in people that are developing. You know, kids that might get autism, right? Kids that might get an autoimmune disease or any other neurological defect. That's what we're looking for. You could do it in a guy who's 65 years old, bruh. Why don't you just do it in a guy who's 65 years old? Because that's not what we're interested in. We're not interested in doing a study on an adult who's already developed. We're interested in doing a study on the kids that you insist via the vaccine schedule get vaccinated. Why would we do that study on a 65-year-old man? We wouldn't. That would be dumb, right?
Okay. Now, you could please go to page 11 of this same manufacturer insert for the hepatitis B.
Oh, this ought to be
If you
good.
take a look over there, I think you'll find that it provides that there was a follow-up with regard to efficacy, not safety, efficacy, that was beyond the 4 days.
Yes.
Do you see there that there was a 12-month and an 18-month follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. So just to be clear, efficacy of the vaccine was followed up for at least 12 months, for 18 months, but safety was only done for 4 or 5 days.
I do not agree with that statement.
Okay.
I do believe that GSK, like any other company, would have followed their patients much longer than 4 days and would have collected reaction data.
And if they didn't do that, you would agree that that is completely inadequate in terms of assessing safety pre-licensure?
I would say that would be inadequate, yes.
Do you agree with the CDC's recommendation that babies receive a hepatitis B on the first day of life?
Yes.
And these are the Engerix B and Recombavax HB are the only 2 hepatitis B vaccines approved for 1-day-old babies, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And why is that?
you
may.
I think there might be more, but I'm not sure. I know there's a few different hepatitis B vaccines on the market than in 2018. It sounds like they're just talking about 2. I think there might be 2 or 3 more since then.
They ask. It is because if the baby is not vaccinated, well, I'm telling you that if a baby is not vaccinated at 1 day of age, transmission may occur from an infected mother, and hepatitis B occurring in babies is likely to become chronic and to cause serious disease later in life.
Okay.
That's why the dose is given at 1 day of age.
I wasn't asking you any questions about efficacy or
But
why
I'm telling
it's
you
done.
why it's given.
Well, thank you, but obviously I'm just trying.
Here's my question about that. Let's say the baby is exposed on the way out of the birth canal to hepatitis B. I don't understand. Okay, so now they've been exposed. Like, what are we doing? Why are you giving them a vaccine? They've just been exposed naturally. Why would you give them a vaccine to something they were just exposed to? If the mother had it. You're gonna give them a vaccine to something they've been exposed to or will be exposed to very early on if the mother carries it. For what reason? And then, by the way, they're going to be teenagers one day, so we got to give it to them so they're not exposed. So that if they're exposed to it when they're 13 through sex, that they don't get it then. Okay, so you could give the vaccine later. You don't have to give it on day 1. You don't even have to give it to a kid when they're 4 or 7. You could wait till they're 10, maybe, and they've developed more. Just a thought. Just a thought. Why aren't this is a question for him. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think it's a good question.
Like any product, obviously, you want to have informed consent, understand the risks and the benefits, and I'm just trying to understand what was done pre-licensure for these vaccines, and I think you've explained that to me. One of the things you've said in the past, and I believe, is that without a control group, in a clinical trial, you're in la-la land, right? You said that one time? Do you recall?
Without a control group, if you're looking for a phenomenon occurring in the vaccine group, you cannot judge that phenomenon without having a control group.
Okay. There's only one standalone polio vaccine currently licensed in the United States, correct?
Well, as far as licensure, I think both oral and inactivated vaccines are licensed, but the only one that is used in the U.S. currently is the inactivated one.
IPV?
Yes.
Right, and there's only one Sanofi, there's only one IPOL by Sanofi, correct?
Yes.
Okay. A vaccine, you strike that. How long was the safety review for each dose of IPOL in the preclinical trials for that vaccine?
I do not know offhand, but Counselor, IPV has been used throughout the world for years in millions of people, and safety data have been collected on many such studies, and essentially serious reactions to IPV are extremely rare. So IPV is a very safe vaccine.
I'm asking you in the pre-licensure clinical trial for...
That goes back to Jonas Salk, where where millions of children actually were vaccinated with IPV back in the 50s.
And is there clinical trial data on safety?
Yes,
And is that the same vaccine that's used today?
yes.
Are you prepared to produce that clinical data? Yeah.
Those data are in this book, and I'll be glad to provide you with the references if you really insist. But IPV, as I've said, has been used in millions and millions of people.
If it's so safe, then how come the safety review period for the pre-licensure clinical trial, as provided in the manufacturer insert for IPOL, only reviewed safety for 48 hours?
Once again, I have no doubt that safety observations were made after 48 hours, but they expected that immediate reactions, such as a sore arm or fainting or something like that, would have happened within 48 hours. And also, I'm sure that they're talking about their own specific production of IPV and not relying on the millions of other people who have been vaccinated with IPV.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 12. This is the manufacturer insert for the IPOL, poliovirus vaccine inactivated. If you could please turn to section 6.1. Dr. Plotkin? Well, this is an older one. If you could turn to the adverse reactions, which is on page 12.
And this
14.
flipping page, this preserves the objection. To my understanding, Dr. Plotkin had no role in the study design. You're asking to speculate as to the reasoning of other people that he had no contact with.
Okay. He's testifying that my client should receive this vaccine. I can certainly ask him about the pre-licensure clinical trials that were done to assess its safety. And you put him up as an expert in vaccinology. But your objection is noted and preserved for the record. Thank you, Counselor.
Damn.
Okay, so if you go to page 14, Dr. Plotkin, how long does it say that that adverse reactions were observed after vaccination?
48 hours.
Okay. And did the subject group that received IPV only receive IPV, or did they receive another vaccine along with it?
Concurrently with DTP.
And what did the control group receive?
I don't see that stated.
Let me guess.
If DTP is given along with IPV, how could you know whether a reaction was caused by DTP or IPV?
You could not.
Okay.
Okay. Wow.
However, they do say these systemic reactions were comparable in frequency and severity to that reported for DTP given alone without IPV.
And DTP was the vaccine we talked about earlier that was withdrawn from the market, correct?
Yes.
Safety issues, okay. The only MMR vaccine available in the United States are made by Merck, correct?
Correct.
How long was the safety review? Do you know how long the safety review period for each dose of MMR in the pre-licensure clinical trials for this vaccine?
Sorry, say again, Councilman.
I'm so sorry.
Just some words are just-
No problem. Do you know how long the safety review period for each dose of MMR in the pre-licensure clinical trial was for this vaccine?
Not offhand. The vaccine has only been used now for about 50 years.
Okay. So it's more recent, right? So. Well, Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. This is the manufacturer insert for MMR2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you go to the precaution section, I'm sorry, the adverse reaction section, I apologize, on page 6, what you'll find is that there was no clinical trial prior to licensure for MMR, correct?
I doubt very much that's the case.
You're not aware that are you aware that it is a grandfathered product?
I am not aware that it's grandfathered. I was alive and well when the product was first licensed, and it was tested extensively before it was licensed. So to say that it hasn't been tested is absolute nonsense.
How come there is no clinical trial data in the manufacturer insert?
That is something that the FDA would have decided isn't necessary.
Are you willing to?
We're talking about a vaccine that's been given to millions of children, and I insist on this point, that measles is now a relatively rare disease in the United States because most children receive measles MMR vaccine. That, however, in the since 2000, because of children who have not been vaccinated, there have been 24 cases of measles encephalitis and 3 deaths caused by measles itself.
So, Dr. Plotkin, we'll get to that piece of this, but right now I'm trying to talk to you about the pre-licensure clinical safety.
And what I'm telling you is that millions of doses have been used of this vaccine, and that there was pre-licensure trials, which I am absolutely confident about. And you're talking about stuff that's in a package circular that the FDA has approved in full knowledge that safety and efficacy have been demonstrated.
So you're saying there were clinical trials before the MMR was licensed?
Absolutely.
Is that correct? Okay, and you can provide those?
You can find them in this book if you wish.
Okay. Yeah, but it should be on the insert for the medication that you're being given, or the vaccine, or the medical product that you're receiving. You can't just say, oh, well, a bunch of other people got it, so, like, why do you need to know anything about this thing that we're going to inject into you? I mean, if that's really the way people think, I don't need to know anything. A bunch of other people got it. Why do I need to know anything? That's not a great path to go down, everybody. Not a great path to go down.
So you're saying you won't provide them?
Well, yes, I guess I am saying I won't provide them. If you want to take the trouble to read the book.
Okay, so sitting here today, when did these, can you tell me what year these clinical trials occurred?
Yes, they were done in the 1960s and mainly in the 1960s.
So you're claiming something happened, but you're not willing to provide any proof that it happened?
The proof is in the publications, which you can read.
Can you please turn to the page where it's in there?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I'd like to note for the record that Dr. Plotkin has been reading from his notes, as well as looking through a book entitled Plotkin Vaccines, 7th edition.
No, this is a tense 5 minutes of searching.
Between pages 592 and 600, including tables that show the antibody responses, proportion of children with fever and rash after measles vaccine, et cetera, and the numerous references which go with this chapter.
So are you saying that was a pre-licensure clinical trial?
Yes.
That you just read from?
Yes. But again, I insist that pre-licensure or post-licensure, the fact remains that the vaccine has been studied extensively over a period of 50 years.
I understand you want us to just take your word for it, but I prefer to rely on science, peer-reviewed publications.
That's what you'll
clinical
find
trials.
in there.
And so, I understand that you're getting a little upset about me trying to ask for the data, but I'm just trying to get to the substance. The FDA it requires that clinical trials be on the insert. They're not here. Okay? So you're saying that this table, and let me take a look at it. this would have been post-licensure, not pre-licensure, and it doesn't indicate a placebo group, nor that it was. So this is not a clinical trial as far as I can tell. But can you point me to something that had a placebo group and was pre-licensure, please, sir?
I'm not sure of the placebo group. I would have to go back and look at the individual studies. But in terms of pre-licensure studies, I am absolutely certain that they were done when the rubella vaccine that I developed was incorporated into MMR. Obviously, clinical trials were done before licensure, and I'm absolutely certain about that.
Well, maybe they're not included because they didn't include a placebo group. So
they may not have included placebo groups.
So
yes.
maybe they weren't deemed valid and enough to consider a clinical trial.
That's absolutely false, because you can certainly collect reactions in individuals who receive the vaccine, for example, fever and seizures and that sort of thing that happen immediately, and whether there's an effect on blood cells, etc. Those things were definitely done. I'm absolutely certain about that.
Okay. Yeah, he's absolutely certain that the things that could have been checked on within a week may have been checked on. Okay, sure. Okay, what about ongoing adverse events? We have no data. And he keeps saying it. He admits there's no data. We don't know what goes on. We give these vaccines out and, nobody died in the first 4 days, so I guess it's all good. That's his take. His take isn't vaccines don't cause autism. He's literally telling you, or any other problem, by the way, of which there could be many, not just autism and ADHD and all the things we talk about normally. Many problems. Many that we don't look for, that we don't know about, that we don't care to find out. He's literally saying, we don't know. We don't know what the vaccines cause. Oh, well, they prevent this insanely rare disease now. Great. Okay, so that disease is really rare, and a lot of them are pretty treatable. But what about the other things that does it cause more harm than good? We don't know. Well, wouldn't you want to know that? Just a little more, and then I think we might be done for today. I don't know how much more of this I can take.
That because I was there.
But there was no control group.
I don't remember there being a control group for the studies that I'm recalling.
So you're not aware of any trial that assessed safety in MMR with a control group, correct?
I cannot cite such a study offhand. I'd have to go back and look to see whether control groups were included.
We talked earlier that to assess safety, you need a randomized placebo-controlled study. And my understanding from looking at this insert is that no such study exists. You told me that it's in this chapter, and you assured me it's in there, but you're not citing to anything in there right now. So I'm happy to get a copy from you if you'd like to provide it after this deposition. Would you like to do that?
I will look.
Okay.
Guys.
Going back to page 6, there of the manufacturer insert for MMR. There is an extensive list of adverse reactions that have been reported after licensure of this vaccine by individuals receiving the vaccine, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I'm not going to read through all the ones because it's page and a half long, but they're extensive. And of course, we won't know whether or not MMR actually causes any of these unless we have a randomized placebo-controlled study, correct?
Correct.
And when I say these, I mean all the adverse reactions listed in the manufacturer insert for MMR on page 6, 7, and 8, right? You understood that's what I meant?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Listen, let me ask you this. Maybe you can help clarify, okay?
I'll leave that alone for
You also testified that Faith should be vaccinated for Hib, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how long the safety review period was for each dose of ACT-HIB in the pre-licensure clinical trials for this vaccine?
Not offhand, no.
Okay.
Oh, God. Guys, I'm just going to save you the time. They do not like to do control groups in the studies for vaccines. I don't know why. I'm not claiming to know why. But that is a massive, massive problem for safety. That is a massive problem. Because if you want to know, yes, this vaccine is going to protect me against XYZ, but am I going to end up with a neurological condition that is way worse and affects me for my entire life? We don't know. They don't know. Does the vaccine cause more harm than good? We don't know. Why not? Because we don't have a placebo group. We don't have a control group, and we don't do science. But this whole time that we were telling you guys we were doing science and you believed us, and you made fun of a lot of other people who didn't believe in vaccines and who questioned things after their kid was maybe developing properly and then got a vaccine and now isn't developing properly, and the parents questioned it and you made fun of them. Remember that? Remember how you thought that we were telling you the truth and we were doing science, and we totally were like, oh yeah, we're doing science. We love science because we love science and we love it so much, and we do it and we love it, and we would never not do the science because we love the science so much. Remember all of that? Yeah. We don't actually use control groups in our clinical trials. As it turns out, you trusting that we do the science, by you doing that, you're actually, what you're doing is you are consenting to us doing the science, but we're doing the science on you. We're just, honestly, we don't even really care what happens to you. We're doing the science on you guys. Guys, you are the guinea pigs. Okay? I'm glad you guys like science, because you are now part of the science experiment. All right, guys, until next time, later.